Get up here,
If you
Gunner.
qualified on or before 1950, remain standing. All others, please move over and join Mr. McConnell. They'll make their way. Gil, you need to come back. Now we're heading in the right direction. Okay, if you qualified on or before 1948, remain standing. All others, please join the PAO group. If you qualified on or before 1948, you stay in that group. If you qualified on or before 1946, remain standing. All others, please join Public Affairs Officer. If you qualified on or before 1944, remain standing. All others, please join the PAO group. If my fingers are right, that leaves us just one. And he qualified over 70 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to recognize Mr. George Harold, our oldest qualified submarine. The sword is making its way to the cake. I know the captain knows how to yield it.
Pretty good. I don't know if we'll be able to get up there. Push away.
In recognition of their service, Captain Hetherington will present Commander Sievertson, Mr. Kelly, and Mr. Harold with several gifts or a gift. He'll present an expended 40mm shell and a coffee table, excuse me, documenting the history of the Cape's Lighthouse. This is for Commander Sievertson. This book was written by Cape Canaveral Air Force Station's director, deputy director, Dr. Sonny Witt, who is here with us tonight. Sonny, please raise your hand. Everybody give Sonny a round of applause. It is a fantastic book. I know I bought one. And Mr. Harold will not receive one tonight. Nor will Petty Officer Kelly, but they will receive an expended 40mm shell. I must tell you that Mr. Harold already has Sonny's book from last year, as he still remains the oldest qualified submarine.
Is this a bomb?
It's from 1941.
Oh. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. We should give him a hand.
He just wanted to know what kind of liquor you put in those.
Now listen, I'd like to tell you a little story before I sit down. But I'm going to need that microphone, but just continue. Don't let me interrupt.
You already did.
Bush, tell them about rescuing George Bush.
You can sit down. Hey, you listen, don't worry about standing up. I was on the S-27 in October 1941 with, well, before I went to submarine school in the summer of 1941, and there were 14 in our class. And, well, I got to get through this. I got to keep this straight now. There were two men. One was lost on the Amberjack, and one was lost on the Grunion in 1942. About 8 years ago, somebody located, they were in my sub-school class, about 14 guys back then. And he called me on the phone and wanted to know about his uncle, who he never, this was a younger man, maybe 50, something like that. Wanted to know about his uncle that he never had the pleasure of knowing. And this kind of shook me up, because this young man was 20 and I was 17 when we went to submarine school in the summer of 1941. And his name was Alfred Ullman. And he was lost on the Grunion in 1942. And I got to say something. When you read out those boats, you left out my boat. The S-27 was sunk in June 1942. You said that. And all 50 of us lived on an island for a week, right next to, you older guys know where Kiska is, Japanese Hill Kiska. We laid low for a week until we were found by PBY aircraft. And I got to take point that boat wasn't mentioned tonight, so I'm going to get a lawyer. Other than that, I certainly appreciate all your recognition. I hope you guys are telling me the ones that I'm sorry you're not here today to see all this. It's just, well, I'll tell you one story, one quick one. You older guys remember Charlie Spritz at the submarine base in New London, or you heard about him. Okay. There was an identical chief petty officer at the submarine base in Pearl Harbor, and his name was Pete Chang, and he was pisser. If you were overleave for an hour, you washed his car. I washed his car a couple of times. And there's a lot I can think to tell you, but I just don't know. Oh, whoa. December 7th, 41, I happened to be at the submarine base. Now, you know the submarine base didn't get hit. We saw all the action around it, Fort Island, Fort Wheeler, all that like that. And there were 3 boats at the base and 1 boat over in the Navy Yard, the Cuttlefish. And we just stood there and watched the whole show, more or less. It was a pretty day. We couldn't see the Arizona blew up. The Arizona was directly east of us at Fort Island. And there's a big tender there at the sub base at Pier 1. Now, some of you might remember the name of that tender. I don't. But there was a big tender there. And we saw this you saw the film of Pearl Harbor, where the Arizona blows up. You all saw that. Well, we saw this smoke come up, and we thought it was something on Fort Island. And everything was, oh boy, somebody got it big there. We had no idea what it was. Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to sit down and let you continue. But I just, I get started. Hey, unwind that clock back here. Thank you very much.
You did good, Dad.
Did it sound okay?
You did good. You did good.
George, how come you didn't tell them about rescuing George Bush?
Listen, they didn't want
I
to hear
don't
what I
have too
got
many
to
more
say.
pages, but I got a couple. I call all Toastmasters to the stage.
You have your bullet?
What's
Get
that?
your bullet?
What pen?
Or left his shell. You left your shell, Dad.
Yeah, she's getting it.
She's getting it.
Unless you want to go get a fresh one.
Make sure it's unloaded.
Yeah, right.
Did they say you got one before?
No.
Well, I thought I heard him say that he had one heard of it.
Yeah.
So you'll be back next year to get
There you
another.
go.
We were trying to keep him up there. When did you get in?
51.
Wow. Oh, during Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw some action, huh? You?
Yeah,
I
right.
think you might have been a pretty busy guy, huh?
No, not really. The only thing I saw in Korea was still periscope.
Well, you got more balls than a lot of guys I know, man.
There's not too many,